A day isn't that long. Let's see what kind of case this big-shot outlander can build in such a short amount of time. I'm really quite looking forward to hearing it.
Детектив. Путешественник.
Lenny!
Sorry about everything that happened just now. Were you frightened?
Of course! Who wouldn't be scared after witnessing an accident like that?
Yeah, I'm a little shaken up myself. How could this happen? I don't know whether what happened there on the stage was purely an accident or not. And I don't know why poor Cal was in the box. As for how that girl chosen from the audience could suddenly disappear, I'm afraid I don't have any answers either. If someone tampered with my performance, then we need to figure out what they did.
Which is precisely why we need to investigate! As this book says, the impossible could not have happened. Whatever happened must have been that which is possible. Paimon bought them when we were reading at the bookshop in the city earlier. Pretty cool, huh? Don't worry, Paimon used her own savings to buy them. It wasn't from our travel funds.
I think they look cute on you, Paimon.
You have good taste, Lynette!
That's the right attitude. Feeling depressed isn't going to help me now. I need to get back to my normal self. But with the guards watching our every move, it's going to be especially difficult for Lynette and I to prove our own innocence. Good thing you agreed to be our attorneys. Thanks for that. We'll be counting on you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Alright, let's go have a look while the investigation teams are still here. Detective Paimon is on the case! Hello, officer! How's the investigation going?
I see. You must be the traveler that Lady Farina mentioned. Listen, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'd avoid getting mixed up in this whirlpool of a mess if I...
Huh? What do you mean?
Come with me and you'll see.
Stop fucking coming.
The deceased is one of Linny's assistants named Cal. Even though he hadn't joined the troupe long, he was hardworking and everyone generally liked him. The assistants are usually in charge of setting up and inspecting the props, as well as assisting with the show and keeping the crowd engaged. As you probably saw when you were in the audience, the water tank suddenly fell and smashed the box with Cowl inside it. This is the real mystery. We've already searched the scene and were unable to find any traces of the girl. However, if you look carefully, the box was positioned directly under the water tank. The ropes holding the tank were then burned by the pyrotechnics on stage, causing them to snap. All these factors lining up so perfectly makes it hard to see this as a mere accident. If anything, the more logical explanation is that the whole incident was intentionally planned, and Linny is the most likely person to have access to all these areas.
But he doesn't have a motive!
Anyway, you may investigate the scene of the crime yourselves if you're curious. Who knows, maybe you'll be able to come up with some new evidence.
О, блин.
So this is the rope that broke and caused the water tank to fall. The rope looks pretty durable. How can it be burned through so quickly by fireworks? Why are you suddenly so serious, traveler?
Это что за книжка тут появилась?
Whoa.
Вау.
Look! This bit is made from different material!
Может, хорошо горящий?
Most of it was burned away, but there's still a little bit of it left. So if a rope meant to hold something was made with that kind of material... Wait! Paimon don't you write all this down? Let's take notes. Hello there. What are you investigating?
Oh, this location has also been cordoned off because the Magic Troop members are currently considered prime suspects. The investigation team is still collecting evidence. The seats were all booked in advance, so we were able to deduce the missing woman's identity by checking the guest list. Sure, it's not like this is confidential information. We will publish it later anyway when we petition the public. Her name is Halsey. She's a painter from Fontaine who's made a bit of a name for herself. Apparently, she wasn't a regular at the Opera House, but she'd been feeling some pressure with her work lately, which made her decide to come see the magic show. The Magic Troop members all claim not to know her, and we have looked into her social connections. It seems that she has no personal grievances or conflicts of interest with the suspects. Simply put, she wasn't related to the Magic Troop at all, which matches the features of the previous serial disappearances.
Were the victims of previous cases also chosen at random?
That's how it seems to us, in any case. Apart from the fact that they were all young women of around the same age range, there really weren't any other connections between them.
Okay then.
No need to be so formal. If you do happen to see the missing girl, please be sure to contact us. It is of utmost importance that we get to the bottom of these disappearances.
The investigation team has some new findings. Turns out there's an issue with the random number selector after.
See, I told you. What if the machine picked some big guy?
Sorry to interrupt, but we're helping Linny and Lynette with their side of the investigation. What were you saying about the number selector?
You're trying to help them? That'll be a tall order.
Lenny used the machine to pick a random member of the audience during his performance. Well, we thought there might be a serious problem with the machine, so
It turns out that the seat number it picked wasn't random at all. I'm sure you already know that you have to make a reservation in advance to get a seat, regardless of In other words, Linny knew who would be sitting.
That much checks out. Linny reserved our seats for us too.
Bet you see why I was saying it'd be tough to make a case for Linny.
I see that you're investigating the area. Well, if you find any new and interesting leads.
We don't have too many thoughts yet.
Then why don't I tell you my hypothesis first? The way I see it. And I'll start it with that loud thud.
The thud? Oh!
Yes, exactly. It wasn't terribly loud, but I suspect that most people heard it. It's just that everyone was awaiting the results of Linny's trick with bated breath, so no one paid it much mind. But now that the incident has happened,
That makes sense.
I'm of the opinion that it may have been the sound of Linny's accomplice, Lynette perhaps, jumping atop the water tank or something like that. And when the pyrotechnics went off, she cut the rope, sending the water tank crashing down.
But wasn't the noise we heard too loud for that?
Perhaps the balance wasn't right, leading to a particularly rough landing. Oh, that's true. I suppose I must reconsider.
That does remind Paimon though. What was with that sound?
Hey, you! Yes, both of you! Over here! I've been keeping an eye on you for a while now.
Huh? You mean us?
Это что за звук?
That's right. If I'm not mistaken, you're also among those who wish to cut down the thorns and pursue the truth. No? And by the looks of it, you're not from Fontaine.
Well, you're right on the more about that one, but who are you?
Have you never heard of the Spina di Rosula?
Спина.
From mediating disputes and providing protection to solving conundrums, you name it, Spina di Rosula does it. And I, Navia, have the honor of being its renowned president. though those who play by our rules call me boss.
I'm Silver, her attendant. Pleased to meet you.
And I'm Melus. Demoiselle's various daily needs and affairs are under my purview.
Huh? Boss? Demoiselle? What gives with the names?
Well, I am the second-generation president.
My apologies, Demoiselle. Should you prefer, boss, I will
No, no need. You don't have to call me boss. Just Navia is fine.
Нави.
Okay, if you say so. Not that we're members of Spina di Rasula anyway.
All merely trifling details. Never mind. Now, back to the situation at hand. That's right. I've always kept an eye on the serial disappearance cases. My interest stems from a matter back from my father's time. Judging from the look of things, I find Linny an unlikely mastermind.
Really? We think so too! That's why we're looking for clues now. But how did you come to that conclusion?
Intuition, naturally. My unparalleled intuition.
Okay.
Farina sure was quick to point the finger at Linny without any decisive evidence whatsoever, wasn't she? But that's not uncommon for her. If you remember, the justice had to interrupt her and ask if she was pressing charges just to keep her from getting carried away. Anyway, a trial begins the moment someone levels charges. And, of course, there was no way Farina was going to back down in that situation.
Sounds more like you just don't trust the Hydro Archon.
Нивелет это фильтр для города. От Фурии.
Well, what's your opinion? I must admit that she can be interesting at times, but liking her doesn't mean that I'll blindly agree with her. All right, I've answered your question.
Wait a minute, did that answer count?
Well, I say it does. But don't worry, you won't hear any pointless questions from me. In your opinion, do you think it's right to treat a trial like it's an opera?
Well?
And why would that be? See, Silver and Melus? I told you they'd be different.
Most astute of you, Demoiselle. I too think that the traveler's response was most excellent. No matter how wonderful the script or how fervent the audience's expectations may be, the trials that go on stage here must be based in fact. And if that can be done, boss, then...
All right, that's quite enough, Melus. Anyway, now, I need to make some preparations, following which I'll...
Wait! Since when did we become assistants?
Well, I can be the assistant, sure. Or your companion, if you like.
That's more like it.
Far be it from me to brag, but I believe that Demoiselle's intuition will be instrumental in uncovering the truth. You wish to save a friend from false accusations, and we wish to unravel the disappearances.
You have a point. You're quite the talker, aren't you, mister? And what about you over there? What do you think? You seem like you've got something on your mind.
I have nothing to add.
Oh, alrighty then.
We'll be making some preparations first. Just be sure to let us know if they start revealing Linny's tricks. Thanks!
Sorry, but no one can freely enter or exit the Opera House at the moment.
No, we're not leaving. Were you always...
Yes! After the Chief Justice gave the order, everyone coming in or out must undergo a strict inspect. So the missing girl couldn't have left from here. At least, not from that point on. I doubt there was much opportunity then either.
How can you be so sure?
Well, because I couldn't see Linny's performance from here, which was quite a shame. But still, I did not abandon my post. And I stayed put no matter how loud the applause was. If someone had so much as even approached the door. We Melazines are good at that sort of thing, you know.
Значит, преступление было с крыши.
So, it's safe to say the girl couldn't have left. Alright, thank you for your help. This will be useful info.
Преступник все еще здесь.
We've checked everything of note here at the performance venue. Paimon wonders how Linny's discussion with the guards is going.
Открывай.
Let's go see, shall we? Ooh, things are getting interesting, huh? We're about to see how magic is made.
Understood. Then I will be going with you.
Very good. Thanks for being so agreeable.
You may spare the pleasantries.
You've arrived. Who's this?
Me? I'm Spina di Rosula's guardian angel. If you've got a problem, I've got the firepower.
Firepower.
Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Call me Navia. I'm a partner of theirs, and will be helping investigate this whole situation.
I appreciate your kind interest. Come with me. We'll be heading below stage.
А если б не начал это задание, он бы не умер.
Huh? Below stage?
Yes, a world of secrets is hidden beneath this magic box, prepared specifically for this switcheroo trick. But before I reveal everything, you should have a look first. Notice anything strange here?
Где?
I'm not trying to be dramatic. Remembering the details of a trick will help you understand the methods used to perform it more easily.
Там пневмотруба.
Huh. Weren't there balloons and other decorations here?
Да.
Ah, good eye. That said, you're still far from discovering the answer.
The back? You mean the inside of the door?
Very good indeed. I thought you might not be able to catch that, given that you were sitting in the first row. The back of this door was patterned. Those patterns are now gone, replaced by a smooth wooden board. So, if you put 2 and 2 together, what do you get? Exactly. All right, let's go. I'll tell you how it works as we head down.
Oh, so there was a passageway under the magic box!
I knew you'd figure out most of it as soon as you saw this place. The 2 magic boxes. See this the box with the lucky audience member in it would be shuttled over to
This trolley can raise and lower and even rotate, ensuring that the box...
I see. So...
Precisely. The inner box would descend after the audience member was put inside and be moved along.
So that's how you did it!
Once the box was lowered, the trolley would store some energy through this. The audience member would only be able to feel some slight movements in the dark, and by the time she walked out...
Right! You were talking that whole time, and you even came out for a moment.
Ah, yes. A phonograph operated by Lynette was used to achieve that effect.
Я так и думал.
My assistant and I had already scripted our conversation beforehand. When the countdown began, I had already gone to the opposite box via a tunnel using that ladder.
And what about Lynette? Where was she?
I was in the mezzanine space in the back of the box.
Oh,
That's how we were able to coordinate Linny's lines with the assistant. And, by the way, I was the one who walked out of the box at the end.
Как ты туда успел вылезти?
I mean, we are twins. All it takes is a change of clothes and no one can tell who's who.
Я так и думал.
And that's my favorite part of this trick. Only Lynette and I can perform it.
so that's how it all worked! Wow, every detail you revealed was more amazing than the last!
Lynette would briefly walk out of the box and then go back in, jumping into the tunnel and escaping before the box on... And then I walk out of the other box in the audience area, and the trick would be complete. The operative word here being would, but as you saw, Cal was in the box, not our audience member. She, on the other hand, mysteriously vanished.
Фокус.
We really don't know how that happened.
If not for that interlude, this would have been an astonishing trick. I probably never would have figured out how you pulled it off. And yet, to think that someone was able to use this magic trick to commit a crime.
Он воспользовался фокусом, чтобы сделать свой фокус.
Could we have a look around? I think we can come up with some...
This is the scene of the crime. So Linny and Lynette...
Yes, of course. No need to be so strict now. I won't...
Thanks, everyone. We're counting on you.
3. Само двигается. А может и не само. Крюк.
Huh. What's this?
Кто-то летал.
Looks like a hook tied to the end of a rope. Huh? There's all kinds of odds and ends here.
Perhaps it was a prop for a different trick.
Whatever it is.
The floor is wet. Please be careful not to slip.
Одежда.
Speaking of which, why would...
Oh, Paimon knows! It's one of those tricks where you pour water into a jug and then flip the jug over only for the water to disappear. And here's a broken vase.
That can't be.
Let's note this down.
Oh, these are the her clothes are here, but she's nowhere to be found.
Right. And do you really need to do... Ugh, this is so confusing. Paimon doesn't want to be a detective anymore.
Откуда у тебя новые очки?
What is this place?
It seems someone...
Could this have been the suspect's escape route?
Alone, perhaps.
But there are no other ways in or out of here. Oh, you're right. Let Paimon write that down.
Well, we've ascertained the state of the... Let's find a place to sort out our...
Apologies for the wait.
So, what did the guards say? Did the
They believe the odds of that are very low, since the guards have checked the area carefully. No one left through the basement during the performance or after.
So the tunnels become like a secret chamber then. You know, like the kind you usually see in novels.
The plot thickens. How's... No wonder Farina was so confident in her accusation.
In other words, the charges are very likely to be upheld unless we make some considerable
Charges and then trial. So if the charge...
That's right.
Huh? So that machine is the one that actually designed...
In practice, there is very little difference. Both have always come to the same judgment.
I'm ready to break out at any time.
Молодец.
Whoa, there's no need for that. Paimon thinks they have a point.
Of course. I just hope you don't mind the lack of options. I'm afraid that catering to all tastes is not in the cards.
In that case, let's just sort out our findings together here. Pity. I mean, what better way to properly think through our findings than over some tea and sweets?
Huh. Breaking out suddenly doesn't seem like such a bad idea after all. Just kidding. Paimon will still do her best, even if there are no snacks.
What do you mean, no snacks? Of course we'll have snacks. If we cannot buy some, then we'll simply make some.
Huh? Here? But how?
Understood, demoiselle. Everyone, please come with me.
Come with me. Come with me. Come from the...
Wait, you're carrying a portable stove with you?
О, у меня такая же есть.
Yes, I must be prepared to meet the demoiselle's baking needs whenever the fancy strikes.
I have eggs, sugar, and almonds at the ready.
Good work, you two. Then I'll get to it. Please sit tight for a moment.
These three are quite the interesting group.
Как они с собой таскались?
And Paimon thought it smelled good while it was still in the oven! Oh, it's even better now. From the way you had these two guys carrying all that stuff around, Paimon thought you'd have them do more during the baking process. But you ended up doing the entire thing by yourself! Beating the egg whites, grinding...
I was applauding.
And I was giving encouraging smiles.
Paimon was just thinking... Aren't you worried about getting your fancy dress dirty beating egg whites?
Well, I don't think it's carved in stone anywhere that fancy ladies can only read books, sip tea, ride horses, and play the piano. I just really enjoy making snacks. Don't underestimate beating egg whites, by the way. It's a real arm workout. You also need to beat them to just the right consistency, or your macarons will crack. Anyway, give these a try, fresh out of the oven. There's 3 for each of us.
Only 3?
Опять 3.
Well, eating too many sweet treats might send all that sugar to your head.
Tea is ready to be served as well. This is Demoiselle's favorite. Strong black tea with no need for concern.
The flower vase and the thud we heard during the performance could indicate some altercation between Halsey and the criminal in the tunnel, resulting in the shattering of the vase, the discarding of her clothes, and perhaps the criminal thought that since she was chosen from the crowd, she would be too—
Paimon thinks that makes sense, but the real trouble is...
True. None of the clues we found thus far, but the only people left to consider are—
Could Halsey have secretly made modifications to the magic props in order to murder Cowell before making—
That's right. Nor does she have any motive. The guard—
Were we not thorough enough in our search? From the sound of things, this is turning into an impossible case. Your macarons are amazing though, Navia. They smell great! They're nice and crisp and super sweet!
Рассыпчатые, точно.
They are my specialty after all.
What? 5? Oh, that can't be right. Paimon only counted 3, honest!
Please don't worry about it. At my age, a few less sweets might actually be a good thing.
No. Being greedy is one thing, but Paimon knows how to count.
Хватит делать акцент на считании.
Besides, Paimon knows that if she ate too many, then others wouldn't have enough.
Макаронов.
Wait, even you don't believe Paimon? How could you? If Paimon ate those 2 extra macarons, then may they turn into stone in her stomach!
All right, we get it. Well, I suppose one of us might have gotten too engrossed in our chat and eaten them by mistake. No big deal.
Главный грозил.
Maloose, set up the stove again if you would.
Huh? What are you doing?
Чел в очках съел.
Making sure everyone gets 3 macarons, of course.
Exactly. We don't—
As you wish, Demoiselle.
And I have the egg, sugar, and almonds.
Все здесь, в животе.
Well, this really is your hobby, huh?
Ну давай, заседание.
What do we do? The whole situation is so confused. Good plan. Impossible things don't—
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about—
Thanks, Navia.
Best of luck to you.
Казнить.
Finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No, we're already—
Well now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed.
Hello, capybara.
That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence.
Бред.
But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Objection.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the cause—
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates—
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying.
Objection.
There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Huh? Только сейчас понял?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Значит, хлопок сверху был.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Indeed, of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid.
Ты тоже там была, ты преступник.
Tell me.
The House of the Hearth?
Ой.
No wonder they did something like this.
О, ля ты крыса.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
Ты тоже.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
Ну, может...
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Может, вот этот погибший, он хотел сдохнуть, но не получилось, да?
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy. Oh, good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Ля ты. Начинай.
Hey, Linny! Why didn't you tell us this before?
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true? Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
Ля ты крыса.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as...
The defendant deceived their own attorneys.
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This...
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense? In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Наказаны.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad!
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if... But our organization is very, very large.
Right now, we want to save people.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, you met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster, but still, I'm asking you to trust me.
Sorry.
Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's hear your answer first.
Of course. I'll answer any... We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a conscience. During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
Ugh, that took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention, at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident. And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events.
what Lenny experienced and what he saw.
Ага. Давай. Последний вот, что я промазал.
According to...
Ой. Ладно.
Lenny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth. Lenny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Ahem! Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Lenny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent!
Objection.
Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that! Wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
My reasoning?
Чел, чё тебе надо? Кто ты? Нет.
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Lenny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine.
Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, you're saying that he wasn't?
That's right! Lenny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Lenny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Well played.
Well played.
To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lenny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Нет. Может быть. Кто-то еще.
Could there have been a third person involved? Is that really a possibility? Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or... Could there have been a third person in...
Чё?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant.
Да, по-любому он виновный. Сам себя убил, дебил.
Huh? That can't be right.
Oh, is that so? How interesting! Let's hear your reasoning then.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim.
Он перепутал веревки.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. So there must have been some fear that she would attract attention. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that. Linny was not in the tunnel at that. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel.
А куда пропала?
It would have been tough for both people to.
Он ушел.
Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come from a clash. The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left the opera house through it. Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment.
Да в ящик она ушла.
Linny was not in the tunnel. No one entered or left the
Неправильно.
It would have been tough for both people to fit.
Неправильно. Что ты хочешь от меня?
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
Наверное, вентиляция?
I see how it is.
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick as it transpired, the end result—
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear.
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is...
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Objection.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which the sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment.
Может, он боролся с ней.
It would have been tough for both people to fit. The vase was not broken by chance.
Какая вода? Она в вентиляции. Давай, убери воду. При чем тут вода?
Oh! Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped.
Она вода.
Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where...
Oh, just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the... How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some... Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about two completely different things.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at it.
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately.
Oh, люди.
The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are... water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea?
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy.
Huh. If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just...
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. primordial sea.